And we're back after a 3-week hiatus of not having any podcasts. This is Gregory Pantadosi, your host, and I'm joined by my very beautiful co-host, Cristiano Tacalite.
Yeah, it's a shame that you can't see me today. We're having some technical difficulties, but I actually just got a lovely haircut today. So of all days for my camera not to be working, today's the worst one. Would see me looking extra cute.
Yeah, so Cristiano's been having some technical difficulties. He lost his laptop, and we've been dealing with some home problems, so that's why we've been away.
Yes.
But alas, we're back. Double buffs. I don't know what episode this is, but whoever's listening, double buffs, episode whatever.
Yes.
How are you feeling about the state of league and the state of LCS, Cristiano?
Well, Gregory, it's been quite the topsy-turvy week, you could say. We have a lot of these teams that we thought were sort of shoo-ins for first, second, third place. Your 100 Thieves, your TSMs, your Team Liquids, your Cloud9. A lot of them having negative win rates this weekend against far inferior teams like FlyQuest.
Inferior, in quotations.
Yeah, in quotations. Which honestly is a lot of people I've noticed on like the cast are kind of hyping it up. Like, this is so good. Like, these people are catching up at the top of the team. But honestly, for myself, it just makes me a little worried because I think it speaks more to the inconsistencies and like the destruction of these top teams.
You think the top teams are struggling more than the bottom teams are performing well?
For the most part, yeah. I think like Evil Genius is a clear standout. I think they've always been actually performing better, not just other teams performing worse. But it's hard to say that this like full academy roster that came up for FlyQuest or this roster of Golden Guardians, which just changed by adding Licorice, that these small changes all of a sudden elevated the teams to like the point where they're beating your 100 Thieves, like I said, those other top teams. So I'm more concerned.
That's the thing with like this FlyQuest roster performing really well. Because there's this concept in real sports, like the underdog mentality, when you have no pressure, going into a game, you kind of almost perform your best when there's no expectations from people. And this is, all these guys haven't really played in LCS before. I believe they have Kumo, right, in the top lane. He's the only one with previous LCS experience. So this is really their chance to get starting spots in the league going forward.
I think Diamond might have subbed in a few times, but yeah, like main starting spots, yeah. So I'm excited to see what FlyQuest brings this week, to see if it was all sort of a hoax, maybe if these other teams can get their act together, or if they're the real deal, And it's also sort of sparked another conversation about like the viability of Academy, and which is always kind of almost, I feel like people laugh at Academy almost. They're kind of like, psh, that's a cesspool of misery and you're going to get stuck there for a long time. And like the overall notion is that, it's probably not very skilled, but then you see literally a whole Academy team come up and beat our top LCS teams, and it puts a big old question mark.
That's the thing though. It's, it's 1 week, they performed well, but I completely do not expect this FlyQuest Academy roster to have this type of success over the long run. Maybe they can prove me wrong, but it does seem to me like this is kind of a fluke. I still believe that the top 5 teams in the league are Evil Geniuses, TSM, Team Liquid, Cloud9, 100 Thieves. The only exception I'll make to this is that I do think Golden Guardians actually improved a lot. I think they're getting a rejuvenated Licorice, who was on his FlyQuest team, but now he's on Golden Guardians, because they've been playing pretty well this entire summer split. We have to remember just how freaking bad they were last split and how many few wins they had going from last split into this split. So I really do have those 5 teams. And then I think Golden Guardians, they're in like 9th or 10th place right now, but I think they have the skill. Like, if there was a dark horse team that's going to upset these big 5 teams, I think it would be Golden Guardians if they make it to playoffs.
And, I sort of agree. I think they feel a little safer than betting on, like you said, that full or almost full rookie roster, like their first time in the league. I'm sure Well, I'm not sure, but I would imagine consistency would probably be a problem for them in the LCS. And yeah, so we'll see. We'll see.
I do want to highlight Evil Geniuses a little bit.
Hmm.
I want to talk about a lot of different things because we have a lot to talk about naturally.
Marinating, yeah.
But I was listening to the Evil Geniuses coach talk a little bit, and they brought in contracts few weeks ago against Team Solomid, and people are like, "Oh, why are you guys bringing in contracts? Is this a thing? Like, is Svenskeren performing poorly, or what's happening?" And the
Hmm.
Evil Geniuses coach literally said, "No, contracts has just been playing really well. We've been scrimming with him, and he's one of the weapons in our arsenal going into playoffs. We
Hmm.
know that Svenskeren and contracts have different styles and different champions. So when we bring a player like contracts into our starting roster against one of the best teams, the Team Solomid doesn't have the same preparation against a player like contracts as they have against Svenskeren because they're not constantly scrimming against contract. And that could be the same thing with this FlyQuest Academy roster, right? A lot of these teams haven't been like scrimming against FlyQuest Academy when FlyQuest itself isn't that great. So it's a new look, and I think that gives you an advantage in the short run. But a player like Contracts on Evil Geniuses, who's a roster that's already doing so well right now,
Hmm.
um, he's a real weapon in the playoffs that they can activate.
Yeah. I'd be interested to see maybe what that different champion pool is because I haven't watched a lot of Academy. I haven't seen a lot of contracts. He's played Diana both games, I think, and he's popped off on both. Um, I'm not sure. I don't remember Svenskeren playing a lot of Diana, so maybe that's sort of what they're talking about. Because I actually want to talk about Diana a little bit and how, or not that much, but it's kind of funny that Rumble was like the premier AP jungler, and then he got nerfed down, and people weren't picking Diana in the same. She was in the same state, and now it seems like Diana has become the new Rumble for all intents and purposes with this big wombo initiation sort of style that a lot of teams are favoring. It's just
Mm.
funny, a funny observation I made.
That's definitely been like this meta has been interesting because last split, Evil Geniuses, they had their own style where Jizuke was playing Rise and he was playing Echo and Nico,
Hmm.
some unique picks, but it was in most regards well regarded globally a mage meta in the mid lane. Um, and out of our top teams, I think this new assassin style where there's a lot of Silas and sustain champions and more melees and mages are kind of out of favor. That really favors a team like Evil Geniuses. And when you can compare those like, Viegos and Gwens with another engaged champion such as Diana, that's a really like hard go at you comp that kind of replaces the Hecarim and Udyr from last split.
Yeah.
Um, and at the same time, we take a look at Team Solo Mid, right? We've talked about Power of Evil's champion pool a lot,
Mhm.
how, he always performs so well in mage metas, but he does have a restricted champion pool. And we're
Yeah.
seeing that a little bit right now with Team Solo Mid, but he's still able to make it work. They can still get wins on Azir in these champions, but he's being forced to play Viego and some of these other champs. Like,
I got something to add there because I actually made a note of that for today because I
mm,
watched him playing Lee Sin, which is a really high priority mid laner right now. There's
high
lots of good
skill
stuff you
cap.
can do with it, high skill cap, and I just watched him Q in ward hop, get stunned, and instantly blown up, and I was thinking, power of evil. I don't know if you have that instinct, that like engager instinct, of when it's safe to go in and when it isn't, and it's a little concerning to see him not update his playstyle like kind of year after year. And it can be a boon when we saw in spring this control mage meta, but like you're just saying, meta shift. We're not really there anymore, and TSM is now dropping more games than I think they were earlier this split.
Yeah, even when like mages are out of favor, Power of Evil's like usually able to make it work.
Hmm.
But out of all the metas of recent years, mages are extremely out of favor in the mid lane. Um, so we're seeing TSM kind of struggle to adapt a little bit, while maybe this meta is thriving with evil geniuses because they are such like they kind of have that Chinese style where they fight, 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 and they try to outplay you with champions like Lee Sin and Silas, which are good champions for Jizuke.
It's such a fun conversation to have about who like the best in their roles are right now. Because when I think about mid lane, I like is Jizuke the best mid laner in the league right now? It's crazy to say. I flamed him so much not even like a month and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
But who is performing better? He's putting like pretty good performances on all these melee carries. He's got his Rise in his back pocket, his faithful pick. He seems to have cut down some of the really heinous ints I've been seeing. Those Lucian dives under the tower come to mind.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who's doing better?
I mean, yeah, this Midland has been a really interesting story all year long because last year we were talking about Demonte and how that's like it was a mage meta and he was kind of a roaming melee player and
True.
he couldn't really adapt to the mage style. He was getting wrecked by other players. Meanwhile, Power of Evil's still kind of able to make it work this split. Like we don't see Power of Evil getting replaced at all. But then you have a player like Jizuke who okay, so another thing that the Evil Geniuses coach said
Mm-hmm.
about like Evil Genius as an org, they're looking at it in the long term because like week to week we see Evil Geniuses and Jizuke specifically limit testing, right? We see them taking maybe these fights that have like only a slim margin of working, but that's their whole concept. They want their players to be aggressive. They want something different than the rest of the league. The rest of the league in North America is trying to play perfect, like know when you can go in, know when you can't go in,
Yeah,
and
those
kind of
90% plays.
yeah, and they try ingraining that from day one. But Evil Geniuses as an org is saying take all of the high risk things that you can throughout the split, so that by playoffs you have a better eye of when you can take these like lower, like 55 to 45% chance plays of working out and execute on them. And we're kind of seeing that we're seeing that come to fruition. Like
That payoff, yeah.
they started off the split 0-3 and now they have an 8-game win streak, right?
Yeah, I really like that point. I hadn't heard that from the coach, but I mean, obviously we don't know exactly why they've started performing so well. But that is like that sounds like a strong theory, you know? If the coach has specifically talked about it recently, I know I forget where he was talking, but I remember seeing him being interviewed somewhere, right?
Yeah. Remember that play that you highlighted a few weeks ago where Jizuke Lee Sin ward hopped into the turret and tried kicking someone and he just died immediately?
Yeah.
The coach talked about that specific play and
Oh, really?
he said it looked really bad from everyone from a public's perspective, but what we didn't see is like that there's two things going on there. One, Evil Geniuses is encouraging these plays
Hmm.
because they want Jizuke to reach his maximum potential. And two, what happened in that situation was Nocturne ulted right as Jizuke went in, so he couldn't actually ward hop back. Because of the Nocturne ult, he couldn't see his ward.
Oh,
So this is one of those things where like some of these plays look really dumb, but there's actually a lot of thought going behind it, right?
interesting, interesting. I totally didn't notice that. That's so funny. I'm
Mm-hmm.
glad he cleared that up. Unless, or yeah, otherwise I would have thought he was a dirty inter for the rest of my days.
So when we're looking at Evil Geniuses, how do you kind of compare them to 100 Thieves? Like, what are your opinions on 100 Thieves right now?
So I was really high on 100 Thieves, like prior to kind of this week even. But they lost some games against what I think are easy teams. Golden Guardians took now. Um, they lost to EG, which is fair enough. We were just gassing them up,
Mm-hmm.
and TSM, I guess, which is a little concerning to me because I feel like
No,
100.
no, they beat TSM.
Oh, that's what I meant. That's what I meant. Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah. But it's a little concerning me that they're losing the Golden Guardians this weekend. Maybe I must have written it down wrong because I wrote down 100 Thieves went 1-2. So maybe I'm not so concerned about them. But as far as they compare, I mean, right now I'd have to give it to EG. I think that, oh, actually, the more I think about it, the tougher this gets. Because I think about the top matchup, I think is pretty comparable. The jungle matchup, I think Closer's been looking a lot better. He had like this game where he was 6-0 on Olaf at 20 minutes this weekend, which is like back to his old form when he was like kind of a hyped incoming player in the LCS. He was dominating on Olaf. Svenskeren, and then you have the Svenskeren contracts dynamic coming in. And I think, honestly, contracts, obviously a much smaller sample size, but in his 2 games, I've been a little more impressed with him than Svenskeren even.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have the Jizuke Abadage question, and that's maybe the hardest of all, because Abadage has been sort of considered the best mid in the league. I feel like. Would you agree with that?
A lot of people have been gassing him up at saying like best mid in the league, best player on 100 Thieves. I've heard a lot of different takes such as that.
Yeah, but then Jizuke has all these crazy highlight plays, and I think Danny is absolutely insane over FBI. I don't think FBI holds a candle really right
These
now.
Zoomers, man, so good.
I know all the Adderall, right? And and then who do you have in support on EG? Ignar?
Yeah, Ignar. I think I saw Ignar. He played Rakan against Team Solo Mid, and that was just such a great pick for like Evil Genius's style, right? They're all go at you comps. I think they're really performing well. But the 3 teams like Team Solo Mid, Team Liquid, and Cloud9, I like. It's hard to say whether EG or 100 Thieves is better right now. I think I'd also give it to Evil Geniuses. But these other 3, big dogs, the LCS that like most people were expecting to wind up at Worlds this year, all seem like 1 tier below Evil Geniuses and 100 Thieves, in my opinion.
It seems, I feel like tense almost, like nervous, a little anxious about what's going on there, because I feel like those teams could just completely collapse at like any second, with just based on how they're performing. We have those weird roster moves with Alfari and Jet and Sven and etc. And TSM is always kind of a big, I don't know. And they didn't even make any roster moves. That's just how they are. So I'm a little nervous, to be honest, that we're going to see some more drama by the end of the split coming from these teams. And I feel the same. Yeah, they're very much a tier below for me right now.
I'm nervous too, but it's important to consider what's going wrong with each of these 3 teams, right? Cloud9 and Team Liquid are having internal struggles and problems where, in comparison to Team Solo Mid, the meta doesn't really favor them right now.
Yeah.
So I think when you're talking about Worlds, as of right now, this week, July 15th, it seems like Evil Geniuses and 100 Thieves are going to go. But these other 3 teams all have more playoff experience, which is important. And if there's a hard meta shift, in the mid lane, that's going to favor Team Solo Mid a lot. If Cloud9 gets back to old form, they've kind of already fixed their internal problems, it seems. They can be better.
I don't know, man.
Well,
I'm feeling real shaky on Cloud9 right now.
Well, I guess in comparison to Team Liquid, who do they even have a coach? I don't like they got rid of a coach, dude.
Yeah, Santorin is still out. I had totally forgotten that Santorin was a player on Team Liquid.
Me too.
Yeah, right. They're still playing Grig or Armao. Yeah. Shoot, what were you saying right before I started going off about
meta shift and then internal problems?
Oh, yeah, and I interrupted you about Cloud9. Like, I don't know, man. Perks looks so freaking bad. It's unreal. I don't understand how he could look this bad as, like, a former MSI champion, right? I made a note of, like, one of his stat lines at 20 minutes. He was 1-4 against FlyQuest. 1-4, my friend. Perks against FlyQuest. Unbelievable. He has this moment in the top lane where he's playing Twisted Fate, and he's pushed up to the enemy tier 1, and there's no one else like in the lane with him. He's just pushing the wave in. But he sees FlyQuest coming up the river, and he doesn't use his TF ult until they're right on top of him. They stun him out of the TF ult, even though he sees them coming. He had like 10 seconds to TF ult, and he waits, and he waits, and he waits, and he dies for it. And I think Fly gets Baron off it. It's insane to see these mistakes out of this player who's regarded as like one of his biggest strengths is like his mental and his decision making and like being able to think on the fly. Do stuff like that like I do in my Gold 4 games. I don't even do that in Gold 4. I would be out of
Yeah,
there.
you do. No, you don't.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
stop it.
Maybe I'm giving myself too much credit.
Stop it.
And pause. Yeah.
I see what you're saying, but you know what? It's a long split, and it's hard to like keep focus for every single game of the split. And one of Perk's strengths is his mental fortitude, but like he has been on top teams for so long, and he always has such high expectations for himself, and other people have high expectations for himself. And coming off of MSI, they didn't really have a break. Then he had to play in the LCS, and Perks has light problems with his eyes. And for the first like 3 weeks of LCS, he was trying to get the lights dimmer in the arena, and they wouldn't do it, and they also wouldn't let him wear a hat.
Yeah, I saw that. That was insane.
So that's just super tilting to begin with. And then he looks a little better, but then you're still going to have these off days over a long split where you're kind of out of it. He looks pretty good on his Lucian game against Evil Geniuses. He was playing that pretty well. But the real thing about Perks is that he's going to bring it up in playoffs, right? This is why they brought him in.
Yeah.
He knows how to perform in playoffs. He's not a choke artist. Like some of these other teams, like we fully expect, or we could see a reality where Evil Geniuses or 100 Thieves completely collapses in playoffs because that's how history has happened in the past.
Yeah. I could definitely be falling in the trap. I remember G2 was pretty vocal back in like when they were winning MSI and they were really an elite. People had them as like maybe maybe the best team in the world at one point. But I remember some of the stuff after they were doing all that, they talked about the burnout. And then from then on, they sort of had all subscribed to the philosophy that it's better to sort of take it easy for a while, maybe even all of spring, play it cool. And so that could be what's going on right now. Perks could be waiting to power up. I could believe it, but
there's so many different angles of looking at this, right? Because Sven did get benched after MSI 2, so we know nothing about that benching in comparison to Alfari and Thorn's video. The Sven benching really was kind of like
mystery.
It was a mystery. So maybe it was beef between Perks and Sven or something, and maybe he's a little tilted. He doesn't feel like he can communicate with Sven as much, or maybe he thinks that Sven thinks that his opinion of Sven is pretty low, so maybe Sven isn't communicating with him outside the game. Maybe there's all these different angles. Maybe he's going to ramp it up in the playoffs. We really just don't know, but what we do know is that FlyQuest is somehow 3-up. We've come full circle.
Oh, yeah. It is exciting. I mean, if I don't think about the implications for the rest of the league, I can be excited for them. It's a good story. But yeah, Blabber. I don't know if Blabber is being exposed or if it's just the way he played. Because when he was playing with Niski, right? Niski was on, I think, one of Thorn's shows even, and with I Will Dominate, and he was talking about how he really didn't mind changing his own play style as a mid laner to move when Blabber needed him to move, and he was always sacking waves for it and stuff like that. And it made Blabber look like a superhuman on like those Olaf games and stuff. But now, I saw him play Nocturne last weekend, and he did this weird ult onto the enemy Leona when he didn't have vision of the rest of the enemy team, so he Nocturne ults in, and this was when Perks was on TF. So maybe he's thinking, oh, classic. I got my mid laner on TF. He's going to ult right in and help me out. But, that didn't happen. Perks was, I think, sitting mid lane still. And, Blabber dies to Leona. He can't kill the super tanky Leona and dies to the rest of the team. So little things like this, little changes in dynamics, can all of a sudden make big chunks of the team look much worse than maybe they are.
I really like that point that you were saying about Niski and Blabber's dynamic and how Niski's style really suited and enabled Blabber. That was a really good point.
Yeah, but it's a good interview with him.
But like you're saying with that play, specifically with Nocturne and Perks is on Twisted Fate, Twisted Fate isn't really meta right now. That's kind of a unique pick. So Cloud9 is experimenting a little bit, which I think is good because that's kind of what Evil Geniuses has been doing, like inch your way to victory, in so much that that you can identify plays that would be instant playoffs and then that plays that you can outplay the other team. So and yeah, I mean, it's a good point. It's a really long split. So it's kind of hard to stay focused week to week. I watched one interview with Perks where he was saying the end goal is Worlds. We understand that we're not where we kind of need to be right now, but and it's hard to stay focused every single day. But the way that he looks at it is like LCS games on the weekends are kind of like the tests, and playoffs is the final exam. So you want to study hard for the tests, but it's your final grade that matters at the end of the day. So they're taking a little bit of a longer term approach, but they're not completely sacking games on the weekends. I don't think right now for all these top teams, it's about getting to playoffs. Unless you're shooting for one of those top 2 seeds, which they're in the conversation for, it definitely helps a lot. But anything can happen in the playoffs once you get there. So we need to all, we need to recognize that.
Yeah. The moment of reckoning. When are playoffs? Do you know?
No, I don't know.
I don't know how far away we are, but yeah.
I think we're halfway. I think we're 2/3 done with the split almost.
Yeah, I'm pretty hyped for playoffs and finals this year because it feels like everything's so up in the air as to who can beat who and who's gonna upset who. And who knows, some of these bottom teams might claw their way back up. Of course not CLG, they're still trash.
Yeah, dude, imagine a Golden Guardians run in the playoffs.
Yeah, right? It would be nutty. Did you see the video with CLG and the coach?
No, but I was reading comments. I didn't even want to watch. I was like, this seems
God, it was dreadful. Fiesta. So the coach basically goes, so guys, unless we go 3-0 this weekend, there are going to be roster moves. And so this is going to be probably the last time we're all here together. And then he starts talking, he goes, I love you like brothers. And who made a video? Someone made a parody. And he was like, I love you like brothers, and I'll still be collecting my paycheck after this weekend, so my condolences to you guys. It's just, it's such a bad look. It's crazy.
That is a bad look. But, at the same time, I saw all the reactions to that and kind of the synopsis in the comments. But at the same time, if being a nice guy isn't working over and over again, then, if they're going to go 0-3 or 1-2 every single weekend, then they put the pressure on. They're like, maybe this style will work if we just put on an immense amount of pressure to these guys and we'll see how they perform under this scenario. It didn't work. Do I fault them for saying that? Yeah, probably wasn't the nicest thing to do, but this roster obviously had problems. This organization has problems.
To be clear, I think it's probably high time CLG makes roster changes. I'm more of an issue with the way the video is filmed. You didn't see it, but I don't know. It was kind of from the back of the room, and I don't know if even the players would realize that they're being filmed there in this vulnerable moment. But I mean, that's speculation. I don't know. But just the fact that they put it out there at all, yeah, fair enough. They're really bad, and probably we need to see Pobelter go. We probably need to see Finn maybe can stay. Yeah. Anyway, I'm not going to go through all the roster, but.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing with this. I hear what you're saying. It does kind of feel like CLG as an organization has really fallen from greatness, and they kind of have some bad internal problems. And it seems like you want to fix the infrastructure before you keep replacing players.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I feel like that should be the priority. Because Golden Guardians, for example, listening to Licorish's interview with Golden Guardians. The Golden State Warriors are the main team that owns Golden Guardians, so they have a lot of funding. They have sports psychologists. They have all these different things and facilities that they have access to enhance their players, no matter who the players are. Meanwhile, CLG
Oh, I can give you the
Doesn't
deets on this. Ready?
doesn't doesn't seem like they can enhance their players the same way maybe FlyQuest or Golden Guardians are doing, where they're struggling right now, but we could see them performing better in the future.
Yeah, so CLG, I was seeing a lot of people point to the ownership as far as, what's been wrong with CLG. Because so if I don't know if you know this or if the listeners know this, but CLG is owned by Madison Square Garden, and this guy, what's his name? James Dolan, who his whole family is renowned for being terrible, like terrible heads of whatever they're doing. And ever since MSG like bought CLG, they've kind of been trolling. It's been a long time since CLG did better than, or like even gotten to the top half. The last time I remember was that Ruin Crown Wiggly roster. You remember that?
I remember they had Power of Evil and Biofrost on the roster one split where they did pretty well.
Okay,
Remember
yeah,
that split?
maybe I'm
That's
forgetting
the
some.
only split I remember. But I did actually read those comments as well. And I'm a basketball fan, so like I can tell you the Knicks have been in shambles for a long time. They're kind of like the number one team in New York, right? For the longest time. They have the most fans. Everyone's always talking about how like the Knicks aren't great, but they can get big free agents because they're the Knicks.
Yeah,
And just it was just failure after failure after failure. And then all the big stars ended up going to the Brooklyn Nets because they were just fed up with the Knicks. Although the Knicks did look good this past year, I will say.
maybe they put all their effort into their basketball.
Yeah, maybe, probably.
But yeah, I don't know. I almost want them out of the league at this point because they've kind of just shown that they're incompetent. Um,
I mean, I guess, but like, I still CLG was one of my first favorite teams when Double Lift was on it. I would hate to
yeah,
see that name out of the league.
but dude, oh my god, do I really want to watch another split of CLG doing trash all year?
I mean, do you really want to watch another Worlds with NA going 0-12? It's like
No.
no, but I'm still gonna watch anyways.
Yeah, I suppose. I don't know. I'll watch this unfold and see where CLG ends up at the end of this season, I guess.
All right, in other news, I think that's all I have from LCS. Do you
Yeah,
have anything else?
I like Trundle. I'm a Trundle enthusiast. So he's been being picked more in LCS, top and jungle, both positions, and kind of taking names, which I like to see. I had something
Mm-hmm.
crazy like a 80% win rate on like 30 games of Trundle or something. I would
Yeah,
just,
right.
no, dude, I'm not trolling you. I was just laying kids out left, right, and center. So I'm excited to see him. Maybe I'll pick him up in solo queue. How's your solo queue been going?
It's good. One thing I was just thinking about,
Yeah.
I'm curious your thoughts on this, but I feel like Vagar could be a really good pick for Team Solo Mid right now, and for some of these other teams that want to play control
Hmm.
mages,
Interesting.
because there's many of these like um, dive at you comps with like Silas, Diana. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Yeah.
Diego,
All these
and I feel like
dashing. Yeah.
in just like that zone of control by Vagar could be really powerful, and then you just blow up someone with your ultimate. All you need to do
Mhm.
is get a Q and R off on one person, kind of hope they die, and then like you have that stun all game.
Yeah. I like it. I remember
As like a mage option for this meta.
there was a point in the last year or two where Kai'Sa, well, I was about to say where Kai'Sa was really strong, but I feel like Kai'Sa's always freaking really strong. Riot loves Kai'Sa. Uh, but I remember, I think Jensen or maybe a few people pulled out Vagar as like a bit of an answer because that cage is so effective against champions who are dashing all over because it just stops you like that. You don't have to hit anything. It's a giant zone, so if Kai'Sa tries to dash in your backline, she's gonna hit the cage, get blown up. So yeah, it's stuff like Silas, Akali, even Viego, all of these like melee dive. Well, you just said it. I'm not gonna repeat it, but all these
Yeah.
dashing champions.
And then you just have your Q where you just kind of have to point it at where they're going to dive.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
what you're saying about so Cloud9 actually picked Vagar in Worlds. I think it was back in 2017 when they went 3-0 on the first day of groups, and everyone was super hyped because no one thought they were going to get out. And Fnatic went like 1-2, and then on the last day they won Fnatic went 0-3, and then the last day they won like 4 games in a row to kick out Cloud9 or something.
Mm-hmm.
But Viega is kind of like, that's the thing with Vega also. He's kind of like this like burst mage that has AoE stuns and zone control and is strong throughout the entirety of the game. It's kind of like how people view him. But, if there was a champ like that, he would be picked 100% and played all the time. So it's kind of hard to really like.
To endorse him.
Yeah, he seems like the concept of Veigar is almost better than Veigar himself for whatever reason.
Yeah, I have heard like a lot of LS. I don't know. He likes to rage about a lot of things that maybe sometimes aren't giant issues, but he definitely has talked a lot about how there are these counter picks that exist for popular champions. I forget who he was talking about in the past. It's some OP top laner. Like there are picks that counter these champions, but pro players just aren't willing to put in the time maybe to master them. And then that goes into also the fact that LCS teams only scrim 3 days a week in the current setup. And so if you're gonna dedicate one game maybe to a counter pick,
they scrim more than 3 days a week, but
I don't think they do.
Yeah, they do.
They have three game days, 3 scrim days.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is 4 days.
But they have a day off.
I don't think they do. I think most of the teams are pretty committed to playing a lot.
All right. We'll come back next week and we'll tell you how many days they scrim.
I hear what you're saying though. One pick that I've been playing in Juggle a lot recently when Shaco was banned, because I haven't really had that second champion that I can play in like high ELO, has been Poppy. And I really think Poppy lines up really favorably in this meta, and you can also play it as a flex between top or support. Because let's say the other team has a Viego, a Silas, a Diana, and a Leona. Those are 4 champions that you can interrupt their dash with Poppy W, where that's so much value and outplay potential in a team fight that I think people aren't really considering it. Because like Irelia is so strong right now, and if you mess up her like Q combo and dash around, or like it really is powerful.
It's almost the exact same idea as Veigar, right? You got the same sort of zone of control, pretty good. Do I have anything else? I like Ziggs. I like seeing Ziggs being played mid and bot. I'll just throw that out there. Fun pick. I like that.
Ziggs is a cute champion. Like I love his character design, like this little devil Yordle thing that throws bombs.
Yeah, I've played a few games with him recently. I was inspired by LCS, and he's a great time. It feels so good hitting a bomb, like hitting his Qs. Every time I hit a Q, I get this dopamine kick as I see.
Dude, but his Qs are so hard to land, though. Have you ever had one of those Qs where it like hits right in front of them and like bounces over them?
Dude,
that's the worst.
I've been getting a little better. I've realized that the number one move is when they are standing next to minions, minions.
Yep, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah. The minions won't move, but the enemy champion will still probably be close enough, even if they're walking around, to get hit by the
like the AoE explosion range, so you aim for the minions. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I play a bit of Ziggs too.
I'm a bit of a Ziggs connoisseur myself.
Ziggs is really fun in like ARAM, where you can just spell sling Qs over and over again.
Sounds great.
You're gonna hit someone.
I really like it bot too, and then because people love marksman mid now. Someone played this weekend Ziggs bot Kalista mid, which is kind of funny.
That's nuts.
Yeah, but
Who did that?
Let me see. Golden Guardians, baby.
Oh, have you tried out the new Ultimate game mode yet?
Yeah, it's all right. A lot of people seem to love it, but it just doesn't scratch the right itches for me, really.
I think it's so fun, dude.
It's just not really a big enough change.
You can get so many funny combinations if you play the right character, especially when you play with other people. That's what really makes the game funny. Because like when you see a Jax like Nocturne ulting onto you, it's like terrifying, but like also the most hilarious thing. Like I was playing with Mason and Matt the other day, and the enemy Hecarim had Lee Sin ult, and you just saw him zooming across the map, and then he just ran up to Mason and just kicked him and then ran away. It's the funniest. It's so funny to see that.
Yeah, I only played a few, and I got things like Ziggs with Lulu ult, and like just like that's not fun, right? Zero fun.
Well,
I've been getting
it's the
bad.
luck of the draw for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Because like I got Shaco with Malzahar ult, and I could stun people while like stealth, and it was like so
Really?
overpoweredly fun. Yeah.
That's busted.
You can also get Nunu ult on Shaco, and then you can charge it while you're like invisible, so everyone's just getting slowed and they don't know why, and then they just all die. Or like fiddlesticks. There's so many combinations.
Yeah.
Like I got Jarvan alt on Vayne, so I could Jarvan alt them and then automatically stun them with my
Oh, that's
knockback.
broken. And you can roll out a Jarvan ult as Vayne.
Oh
I don't know.
really?
I don't know if you knew that. Yeah, the
I
wall
didn't
is
know
so
that. So
yeah.
like that was fun.
Sounds good.
Cho'Gath alt on anyone, hilarious.
Yeah, that's for sure. The giant size.
Oh, did you see that Reddit video of Nautilus plus Zoe? Is that
Yeah,
watching?
yeah. That was good. I really like that one. I want to get something like that. I don't want Ziggs with extra HP.
Oh no, yeah, that's the worst.
Yeah.
But like that, or like a Blitzcrank with that ability would be so funny. Like Mason had Ash alt with Blitzcrank, so it was.
Ash ult with Blitzcrank. Oh, that's broken.
Yeah, dude, you should play with us. It's a good time to anyone listening that hasn't tried out the game mode. Play with some friends. It's a good
I do
time.
kind of like that. I do like that it scales with like with your. Is it adaptive? The scaling of the ult.
I don't know how it really works, to be honest. But you
I think.
get you get the ultimate as soon as like 3 minutes. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a couple minutes into the game.
I just know if I'm Viego and I get like Ziggs ult, if it's gonna be an AD Ziggs ult, or like
Oh,
scale
that's
off
what
my
you're
AD.
saying.
Yeah.
I don't believe it does.
Oh, okay. That would be
Yeah, that's
that would open the door for a lot of funny stuff.
yeah. That's how Silas Ultimate works. I don't believe that's how this game mode works, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. Maybe I'll try it out later. Or maybe we'll try it out later.
Do you have anything else to say to the viewers?
No, that's all for me. Give me a flex. That's what I gotta say. Give me a. Oh, I'm flexing over here, but you're the only one on camera.
Well, everyone, it's been a long 3 weeks. We're glad to be back. Hopefully,
Yeah.
Cristiano can figure out all of his many problems.
It seems like we're good. If
Before
this
next
episode
episode.
works, I'm confident. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's better work, and then it's gonna say Cristiano the Goat next to my face for the entire YouTube video.
Yeah. I'll try to fix my laptop, and we'll see. We'll see. See my
But
beautiful.
anyways, I hope everyone's summer is doing well, and we'll catch you up on the next episode of Double Buffs.
Over and out.